All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. Jack left town. Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
What was that ruckus? What ruckus? I was just in my office and I heard a ruckus.
Describe the ruckus, sir.
Does this mean we're not friends anymore? Not me. I'm in my prime.
Your mind. Ain't it cool?
First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me. Blow. Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
What's up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you on the Metal Time Radio podcast with a little special edition, some music talk with my good friend, longtime friend, Jason Steffen of Pissecotomy, whom I just did an interview with him a couple weeks ago. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please go check it out. It was a great discussion, great catching up. I haven't talked to him up until recently for a long time. Life takes you on different paths and different journeys. So I'm glad you're here, sir, and thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having me.
Have a dinner. Yep. So yeah, obviously, you and I always have been ingrained in metal music. That's kind of how we met online so many moons ago. Even lived together for a little while. You know, you were going through life on a different path at that time, doing your stage stuff and your acting and whatnot, which you did a lot of cool things back then too. But now your life is taking you more into Daddyville, as well as marriage and military service, which again, we appreciate your service to our country, of course. And, you know, but it doesn't take the metal out of your blood either. So it's still something you do. You're a musician, playing guitar, singing, etc. And so if people haven't checked it out, he has a brand new record out from Pissecotomy. So check that out for sure. It's really, very good. It's actually going to make one of my favorite albums of 2025. So I'll be looking for that list at the end of the year. But we're here to talk a little bit about Devin Townsend. This is something that you and we bonded over, surely. You, at the time, you really didn't know too much about him when I threw him at you. said, oh, you like music? Here you go. Check out this guy.
Yeah, when I first heard him, I remember exactly when and how I found him. You remember MTV's Headbangers Ball?
Yep.
Of course. But you remember, and then in like the early 2000s, they did a resurgence of it. And this is still not quite pre-internet, but metal on the internet. We didn't have YouTube, so sharing on the internet really was more like recommendations, and then you still had to buy all the records in order to actually hear it. And Headbangers Ball had a double CD set, and it had, you know, Godsmack, Deftones, but it also had Mastodon, In Flames, and a lot of, stuff that in retrospect isn't the heaviest stuff in the world. But for me, having only heard like the Offspring and System of a Down, like it had a Meshuggah song on there, so it was very heavy. But then right near the end was Strapping Young Lads Relentless, and if you remember, that song almost has like an anti riff. It starts off like a one note riff, and I just thought it was the most creatively uninspired thing ever, and I just completely wrote it off forever. It's like, no, this is trash. And it's, I think, kind of the reaction that Devin received most of the time when people first heard the original SYL record. Like, people were like, "Oh, this is just noise, and I don't like it, and I hate it. It's just annoying." But you had sort of been like, "Nah, try again. Now try again." And then you had sent over a couple tracks from City, and Detox was good. Like, I'm like, okay, no, this guy can write a song and like a good metal song. But All Hail the New Flesh was when that chorus came in, and I just recognized like the emotional, like big weight of it, how it was great. And from that point on, I kind of went, oh, I get it. And then multiple other times through my life, going through Devin's records, I'd be like, I don't like that one. I don't like that one. And then you'd again go, hey, well, no, like, listen to it this way. And then I listen to it, I'd get the vibe. At least I'd say 2 out of 3 times. There's a couple records that I just like more than others, but there's some that both you and I are like on the same wavelength on.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's funny for me because I remember the first time I had seen him, not really knowing who he was, because this was obviously when he was performing with Steve Vai. Uh, he was doing a video from the Sex and Religion record, and like he's all in gold, and he looked almost like cyberpunkish at the time. And I was like, "Fuck, who the fuck is this dude? I don't know anything about it." But the singing style was a little bit off weird, like just because Devin was weird, and then Steve was doing these crazy arrangements with his guitar work and whatnot. Even seeing Devin on Headbangers Ball back in that time when he was kind of hanging around being aloof, he's just a big goofy dude, very crazy looking. But I didn't pay too much mind at that time until I'd read in one of the metal magazines that I was reading that he was at one point admitted to a psychiatric ward, and I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
what the fuck?" I'm like, I feel bad for this guy. And then at the same time, these I just they had this fan thing at the end of the magazine, like they'll pick a fan of a band and they'll say, "Hey, tell us a little about your fandom of this band or artist." And the one kid was like a big fan of Devin, and he had all this work. And this is after I had actually picked up a VHS copy from Century Media, and so it had all these videos, and the one they had was Detox. And I was like, "Oh, this is fucking amazing! Like, I love this." And I saw Gene Hoglan on drums, and I'm like, "Oh, this is just my shit." But this kid, he started like showing signed posters, and then like these albums I had never heard of from Devin, like these solo works. I'm like, wow, he has so much shit out there I've never even heard. I'm like, so I started diving into that stuff and finding music from that, and I was like, I gotta get a hold of these. And so all of a sudden, my love for Devin went like another 110 fold. Like I just because he has this one aspect where he can vary ferocity with the strapping young lad stuff, and then he does this other stuff that's a little more rockish, progressive even. And I'm like, this is like a whole different. What are you doing over there? My cat is going nuts. But yeah, so he had all these different elements that he brings to his music, and obviously you've discovered it as well over the years, the different things he can do. One album that I kind of laugh about all the time is those Ziltoid, like a whole concept album around an alien coffee. So the guy has a great sense of humor. He always has. He's never taken metal super serious to the point that some of us fans take it too serious. He's more like just taking it with all in good fun as long as it's healthy. The other thing is like, and I don't know if I did this when you and I did the interview, because I know I did it when I did my rankings for all the Devin's work, a while back. But one of the greatest moments that I ever had was when you had tracked down Devin Townsend from to basically, I think it was from my birthday or something, but you would basically said an appreciation post, but you got Devin to send me a video, which was amazing. like because there was like I said, you lived with us for a little while with me and Missy, and it was good to look out for you a little bit and help you out. But this video was like amazing, so I'm gonna go ahead and show it to people in case they haven't seen it, because it's just such a great telling his story about what you were telling him about us and our relationship as friendship. So let's check it out.
Scotty! It's Dev. I'm here on behalf of Jason, your good friend. And he wants to thank you for your support. What sort of support, you ask? He wants to thank you for letting him crash in your basement while he was getting his career off the ground. Did I read that right? I didn't read it. I knew it. I can tell. Why they wanted a cameo. Our biggest connection is Devin's music, from SYL to Punky Brewster to DTP and the solo stuff. So, Jason and Scotty. Interesting how this all comes together, isn't it? In the Devin Townsend project, the last, I guess, band, I guess you'd be familiar with that. Beav, the bass player, has been one of my closest friends since I was 12 years old. We used to jam in his garage, and his dad used to yell at us for playing. And I remember when I was trying to get DTP off the ground, when I was trying to transition my life from, we just had a child, and everything was kind of reorganizing itself psychologically for me. Beav let me stay on his couch when I was in town rehearsing. And I think he didn't recognize how big of a thing it was for me. But just having somebody that was willing to have my back when it came to something like that meant more to me than I'm emotionally mature enough to express. So I would imagine, Scotty, that Jason feels the same way towards you. And maybe one day when he creates a multi-billion-dollar enterprise in the metaverse, he would say, Scotty, you can sleep on my couch. You can't have any of the food, but you can sleep on the couch. This is my hope for both of you, that you will be couch swapping forever. That is an awful thing to wish on somebody. Regardless, my friend. Scotty, thank you for your support. Jason, thank you for your support. Scotty, Jason loves your balls. And you guys take care of each other. And thank you so much. And yeah, see ya.
And there you go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see the humor. He always has humor. But I do remember, and I don't remember if I was talking with you about it, but Devin did kind of reminisce about even his early years when he first met Gene and some of that stuff that was going on, like living with them and stuff like that. So, like anybody else, everyone's had like a bit of a trial growing up, and Devin in those early years was struggling a little bit, but he got out of it, and now he's kind of like in a really good Zen place. He's healthy, and he takes care of himself, and he has a good family, wife, and a kid. So, thank you for that, obviously, for doing
Oh,
that.
yeah. No, I got into that, found him on Cameo kind of because that was right after, during COVID, when he made the Devin Townsend podcast, where he would make an episode for every single album, essentially. And for me, a person who kind of just loves biographies and that sort of stuff, I just couldn't get enough of it. So I know exactly that backstory sort of that you're talking about of him, especially since I wasn't there for the early albums. I was just a kid, so I had to find like most of the '90s and early 2000s stuff in retrospect. So having him do that podcast really helped me kind of understand his story, where he was at, because obviously I came in during sort of the peak of SYL, and
Hmm.
then I became an adult kind of right when SYL broke up, and I kind of had to grow up with him reimagining himself. But we'll definitely get into those.
Yep. And yeah, so like we said, Devin, he has like a long catalog of material that he has out there, and it ranges from everything from industrial thrash to progressive rock to even like pop rock. He does so many different things, even like ambient stuff,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So he's put his hands into a lot of different stuff, and then even now, I think he even did it recently. He was doing this whole like, and something that another big Devin fan and I were talking about years ago was him maybe doing like a Broadway show, because he has that kind of talent to write and use different, as you said earlier, use different
Yeah.
musicians, orchestras, and stuff. So he's not afraid to really expand his musical genius into different parts when he's on stage, and it's just really quite amazing what he does. Even when he did with that like circus thing a few years ago, like
Yeah.
his I never the retinal circus. I couldn't
Mhm.
I never got out to see that, but like just the imagery and everything that he was doing was like very awesome.
Yeah, they did a lot of Devin Townsend project. He did a lot of different live um albums. And the one that you brought up first, the sort of Broadway show, uh this is kind of a good time to talk about Devin because he's about to go on kind of an extended break, at least from touring. And the last big thing was The Moth, which is this sort of musical kind of Broadway-esque thing that he had been working on for a decade. And he did it live. And I know that he sold like online tickets to see it, and I didn't get a chance to. Um, and I'm sure that there's pieces on YouTube or something, but I haven't really seen it just because if it's a big concept album, you got to see the whole thing. And I'm I'm very certain that there will be a studio version of that will be coming sometime. So I'm not really in too big of a hurry. Like I'll hear it when it's time to hear it because
Yeah,
he's already got so much material. So it's like I'm never lacking if I need something different to check out.
agreed. Yeah, like I fully expect that to show up on DVD or album wise, like CDs or something, to hear it because he always does that.
Yeah,
It's like just kind of biding his time. And it's like he could literally not take a break for a while and then a year from now drop that new record as like a live experience or whatever. So,
exactly.
all right. Well, you and I, again, we're obviously big fans. So you came up with the concept of doing this where we'll just give our top 10 records from him from his entire catalog of stuff. So, you're the guest, so I'm going to let you start at number 10 with your number 10 pick for his top 10 records, in your opinion.
Okay, well, I have one honorable mention before because it's not on the list, but it should be. 'Cause I just checked it out again today for the first time in years to see if it was any good. I hadn't heard Punky Brewster in years, and what I actually recognized listening to it today was um, it's actually a lot more well produced than you should like and well written than it should be. Like
Mhm.
it's actually pretty darn good 90s punk music. Um, and it's the satire is even more biting for just how lame that era of pop punk was. It's like to recognize like Devin is silly, but he's usually not that hard edged in his satire. Like he usually doesn't call people out.
Mhm.
So to have him be like, "No, dude, you guys suck," is pretty awesome.
Cryptic
But
Nor.
yeah, and like the death metal is even funnier. But okay, I wanted to talk about Punky Brewster in in any shape or form. But number 10 for me is actually the Steve Vai band's Sex and Religion.
Okay.
And and I think is an imperfect record. It's definitely aged that style of rock, and I can't even remember when it came out. I want to say like 93.
Mhm.
That style of rock certainly was not in vogue. Um, but what I think is interesting about it is the fact that Vi, despite having all of his 80s trappings, um, really went out of left field when he picked Devin. Like he knew he could get like a Jeff Scott Soto or one of those 80s guys. He knew he could get any of those, but he didn't. He got this weird guy who was not grunge, but was definitely Gen X. And so it does give it this really weird mix of both worlds. And I think the production is glossy and big in the best of 80s ways, but you've got Devin's youthful, like he's I think 18, and his just soaring vocals over the entire thing. It's got a lot of energy. It's not sappy.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a Steve Vai fan, like a lot of shredders, Um, they're not they're not necessarily known for having the most wide and varied discographies. So the fact that Steve Vai decided, no, for this one, I'm going to actually make a band. We're going to write songs, and then icing on the cake, we're just going to pluck Devin Townsend out of obscurity and put him front and center. Um, he just sings his ass off on the whole thing. What is it like? Dirty Black. I think it's yeah, that's the song "Dirty Black Hole." Um, in my dreams with you, sex and religion, deep down in the pain. Like it's filled with great. I don't even know what you call it, just pop metal song, pop rock, pop metal songs.
Yeah, it's funny because Vi for a long, long time was always kind of chasing this uh dream of sort of, at least in my opinion, trying to chase the dream of being a big time band. So, you think about
Yeah,
his work with David Lee Roth or Whitesnake. Like he was always trying to find that one avenue where he can capitalize on not just his guitar playing, his legendary status as a guitar god, but something
a
to make
rock
money.
star to
Right,
be like
basically, yes, yeah.
like it's you
But
can tell
then,
with this band, but it works. It doesn't,
yeah,
even though it's kind of a cash grab. It made no money, but it
yeah,
worked. Like it wasn't successful in any way except for artistically.
right,
Like
right.
it
So
was really good, but nobody cared.
exactly. So, and maybe part of that's just because of the timing, because that was like
Yeah.
sort of the end of the '80s, early '90s when grunge was starting to take over and stuff like that. So it was hard to capitalize on that. For me, people will find, even you maybe find this a little surprising that this record is at number 10. However, it does feature my favorite song of all time, still to this day, which is Detox.
Oh shit! All the way here.
Yeah. So at
Oh
number
no.
10, Strapping Young Lad City. Fantastic
Oh
record.
wow.
No doubt about it. Uh, but when I looked at it and I tried to compare it to so many of the other records that I love from Devin, like it's like, wow, I don't know, man, because one thing about Strapping Young Lad, and I will talk about this when I get to another record from this project, is that there not many of the Strapping Young Lad records had a lot of versatility. They were kind of like, we're doing this, we're going to do it this way. Whereas when you get into some of the other stuff that he's done in his life, he's doing a lot of crazy shit. He's throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you when he's doing it. So I think I began to really appreciate that more with some of the other records than I did with this project, even though I'm like constantly praying to Odin for Devin to do another SYL record, but he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He's not in that mind space anymore with that. So I have to just revisit these records and enjoy them for what they were when you put
Yeah.
them together.
Ye-
But yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I knew that'd be
Yeah.
a bit of a shock, but
Yeah. I thought that was going to be top three for you. Uh, but well, I mean, in retrospect, also, like I agree that it's like I want Strapping Young Lad again. But it's like even if you go and listen to like the new Black, you can already hear that he wasn't really phoning it in because there's a bunch of good stuff on that record, but you can
right.
tell that whatever he thought Strapping Young Lad was on that album, it was kind of whatever I write and make Strapping Young Lad will be whatever I tell it to in order to get the record out so I can do something else. Like
Yeah, he admitted that. Yep.
which is funny because I remember like that was during like the you can call it new wave of American heavy metal phase during like 2005, 2006, where like strapping young lad shirts were in Hot Topic. So it's like they were gaining in popularity, but as you'll see with Dev throughout his entire career, if he's not buying in the vibe, then it's not worth it. And I've always respected that. I've got City down on further on the list, so I'll wait to talk about
Yeah.
it more. But and the only thing that I'll ask about it though is like so because Detox is obviously your favorite. I think it's your favorite song ever, maybe.
Yeah.
Like so,
Yeah. Every time
what?
I've done like my top 100 songs, it always ends up at number one.
Because I've always made I've definitely I have the feeling that the first half is stronger than the second half. Like the first song, the first three songs are maybe their three most popular songs outside of
Yeah,
maybe Love is like, yeah, All Hail the New Flesh, Oh My Fucking God, and Detox. That for before Alien came out, like that was those three songs were strapping and loud.
exactly. Yep.
So, and the rest of the album's good, but um is extraordinarily good actually. But it's like by the end of it, it's just not as strong as those first three songs back to
Yeah,
back.
and that might have changed if they had taken, say, because No Sleep Till Bedtime has two really great tracks in Centipede in Japan, which I really love those tracks, but they're just on an
Oh
EP.
yeah.
So
I
had those
forgot
been
about
included
those.
onto City, that might have changed the way the entire album was if they'd thrown those on towards the end. But it is what it is.
All right.
But
Well,
let's talk about your number 9.
okay, so for number 9, I had to decide this one today. It was a mix between Transcendence and this. And Transcendence is still a fine record, but it's a little bit bloated near the end. Again, the first half extraordinarily strong, and then kind of just peters out. Uh, right here, though, for my number 9 is Addicted, and uh, I think that Devin Townsend, for as many different styles of music that he makes, he has a bass, and what that bass is essentially is almost like a progressive pop rock metal, like pretty accessible. He's really into big Def Leppard production. He's said that a million times. Like it's not like the majority of his work is super complex. So I have a sort of grouping of albums like Infinity, Ocean Machine, Transcendence, Addicted, Sky Blue, and Epic Cloud that kind of just all fit this big chorus, simple songs, in your face attitude. Um, and I think that Addicted is the best one of those style of albums, which probably nobody else thinks that. A lot of people are into Ocean Machine, a lot of people are into Infinity. Um, Even a lot of people were into Epicloud when it came out, but I think that Addicted is very simple in its execution. It's very simple in its mission, which is especially after Key, the first Devin Townsend Project album. A lot of
Yeah.
people didn't like that. A lot of people didn't like it, and it's not the best album in the world, and I don't think it's supposed to be. He always said it was a palate cleanser. It's
Mhm.
like, and I think that if it is, and if you listen to it,
And
it's a
he was very honest about it too. He said, and he was releasing those 4 records. He said they're all going to be completely different, and he wasn't
yeah,
lying.
yeah. So I thought that Addicted is maybe like his tightest record from front to back, where it's like it's just 3-minute songs, but each one kicks. The production is awesome. I think it was the very first album that he had Annika on it doing the
Yeah.
female vocals, and she just became
Yeah.
a staple of his stuff. But um like Universe in a Ball, Super Crush, Awake. Um,
Awake is like my favorite track from that. It's
yeah,
so
and
good.
one and I haven't listened to the whole album in a long time, and listening to it today, it's like when it gets to Awake, it just feels so earned. Um, and it's a very positive album, and especially since these 4 albums were like his sobriety albums. Um, he did such a good job of like capturing that mania of being newly sober, that for somebody who obviously had done a lot of psychedelics and had done a lot of euphoric sort of substances, he captured that mania perfectly.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a perfect album, but I think that for what it is and its simplicity, I'm always going to appreciate the constraint that it has.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I think this record didn't make my top 10, but it certainly has a lot of great tracks on. Like, again, it's like trying to narrow down 10 albums is very difficult with
Yeah.
this guy.
Well, I
So,
think that you could other people could pick any one or two of those other albums that I'd said. Like of his main big pop albums, this is just sort of the one for me.
Yeah, yeah. For me, number 9, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, during the COVID stuff as well, he released a record, and when he did his video for Genesis, it blew my mind, just how crazy he was throwing everything. And like I said, the kitchen sink into the song itself, but the album actually really grew on me after a while. And of course, I'm talking about Empath. Just a lot of fun. He's basically approaching this record with everything he like did with, like you said, Addicted or Deconstruction or even Casualties of Cool. Like he just brought in everything he was like messing around with and just had fun with this record. And yeah, I like it a lot. Especially Genesis is like one of the better songs he's ever written, outside of some of my other favorites, of course. But certainly that comes up at number 9 for me on this list.
That's actually my number 8.
Oh, okay. Well, good. We'll
Yeah.
pop right into that then.
Yeah, it is not a perfect album by any means. Like Addicted is a tighter, more realized album, but the thing with Empath does that when it came out, I remember being kind of just burnt out. Every band comes out with their new song that used to be great, and it just isn't very good, and isn't very good. And then Genesis, that first song came out, and I was just blown away. And even the video where it's just him listening to the song, but the background is insane. Like he did such a good job uh of mixing the soft with the big moments. And even though not every moment on the album like works for me, like the second song, Spirits Will Collide, like
Mhm.
that's a good song, but it's basically just every song on Addicted. It's just
Yeah.
another one of those, and I don't like it as much as the songs on Addicted, but that's okay because its placement in the album is really great, and it's got some of his prettiest little moments on there, and then some of his coolest big moments. And I remember when it came out, I was on in college going on like a choir trip, and the guy next to me wouldn't stop talking, and the Devin album just came out, and so I just listened to it, and it was the only thing I had on my MP3 player, and just listened to it like 8 times in a row. So I got really intimately in tune with this album over a weekend, and almost to the point where it's like I haven't listened to it in a long time because I overdid it. But yeah, when this album came out, it definitely shook me quite a bit.
Yeah. My number 8 is going to be a bit of surprising for me because, again, as I'm putting this together, I'm trying to think of like albums and songs that I really like. And at first, I wasn't sure how much I was going to like this because I knew that Devin had pretty much kind of abandoned the really heavier stuff. Like he still incorporates it a little bit, but not as much as he would like Strapping Young Lad. So obviously, as time's gone on, he's done like a little bit more lighter and lighter stuff, but they're always still very interesting. You actually told me about some time ago about The Puzzle, which was very interesting. I went back and kind of re-listened to a lot of that. Still don't know if it connects with me as much as a lot of the other stuff, but I really always enjoyed how Devin just tries to be open-minded and creative about how he approaches different sounds and wavelengths and stuff like that. So this record kind of like a little bit of that. It goes back to some of his stuff that he'd been doing on Empath and other albums like that, but he also still has a whole new vision with it, and it's of course Light Work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so one of his
Yeah.
more recent, and I even like Night Work as well, which is like a companion
Yeah.
piece to it. So it has just like a lot of cool songs on there. I mean, I can't sit there and say, off the top of my head what they are, but like I do have like a massive amount of them on my iPod. So like I know I do love this record. So clearly, because I'm somebody who listens to a lot of music as there is, like I don't try to burn myself out on Devin anymore. But then I do get in these moments where I'll be driving along and I'm like, I'm just in a Devin mood. I'm just gonna throw in this entire playlist and just listen to Devin all day. and I find it. I have like a lot of tracks from this record on my iPod and stuff. So it just fits, man. Like it's again, it's something I didn't expect, but I'm kind of happy about that because that tells me that I am paying attention to his work. That's even later. So if it's still impacting me in that way, then I can still appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, I really liked that album quite a lot. Again, it's not perfect. There's a couple songs on there um, near the near the second half that I don't really care for as much. Um, but then the first half I think is really solid. Especially, it's actually pretty close. It would be like maybe an 11 or 12. Um, Call of the Void is like a really great song. It's even it's funny because I don't know if you know this, but that song is like he lifted that from a band that he's really into. I forget the name of the band, but it's like he basically took he was inspired by somebody's melody so much that he wrote a song around that melody. So he wrote that song based off of another song, and it's really great. You can find it if you listen to his podcast, but that one, I think that the song Light Worker in general is really one of his best uses of sort of, I don't know if it's like orchestral elements, but the way that it is orchestrated, um, you don't realize just kind of how simple the guitar is. The guitar
Hmm.
is just really just providing a center, but it's a really well written, well performed song. I think that the best one on that album, I love the song Equinox.
Hmm.
It's near the beginning. Just really great. I like the little timpani, or no, not timpani, drums, the steel drums that they use on that song Vacation. So I think it's a very strong record and exactly what he needed to do after Empath being kind of like the kitchen sink. I just found it to be a very mature, um, calm. I don't know if calm's the right word, but there's something very like just you can tell that he's extraordinarily comfortable. And for a
Yeah.
guy like Devin, who's kind of neurotic, to feel him just really ease in, it's not laziness. It's
Oh no,
him
no.
like it's just really seeing him just it's a very mature work. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate he takes a lot of time to compose his arrangements and stuff. So like, people might say, well, he's, pumping this out, pumping this out. But the reality is he's had so much material on his back burner for so long that he just kind of goes back through and reworks them.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of like just what he's doing with a lot of these records, but he takes his time. That's what I appreciate. He's not just throwing it out and throwing it out. He actually takes time to make sure it sounds right. He's like his biggest critic anyway. So
Oh yeah.
I appreciate that he actually puts a lot of work into whatever record he's putting out there.
Oh yeah.
So you're number 7.
Yes. You had mentioned it, and it is an obscure record in his catalog, and I don't really think it should be, which is The Puzzle. Um, and it's because during the Devin Townsend podcast, you could hear him talking about like he was mainly working on uh Lightworker and working on or just finishing working up on yeah, I think it was Lightworker. Um or if not, I might be getting them swapped. But either way, he was working on other stuff, and then just these little ideas just kept on coming together. And I do enjoy Devin's ambient work, but the more formalist stuff um, kind of just goes into the background for me. And what I thought was so cool about the puzzle was that it sounds like it's a noise record, but it's ambient at the same time. It is gentle and it does have a vibe because, like, I'm a big Mike Patton fan, but
Mm,
and I'm a big Psy fan, and I like a lot of those weird noises. But usually, those weird noises are very chaotic in a big and jagged way. It's not usually the most enjoyable, calming thing to listen to. Um, and what I was so impressed with the puzzle was that these just micro moments, I just couldn't tell how he was making them. Like
yeah.
certain, okay, there's some drums, there's some guitar, but there's other things where I'm like, I just don't know how he's doing this. And that's what sort of really set it apart for me because when I first heard it, I was pretty disappointed because I was like, okay, there's no big songs, there's no whatever. Okay, this is what I waited for. Um, but I just kept on returning to it, and the fact that like Inside Out Records would not publish it, so he self-published it, and it's like it just didn't get any attention, and I don't think he expected it really to. But it's not that weird for all the stuff that like fucking metalheads listen to. It's not some challenging, unlistenable thing. I think it's uh it's maybe challenging for people who've never listened to challenging music before, but I think that despite all the weird places that he takes you on the journey, uh overall it does build. Like
Hmm.
it does have a solid build. It's solidly written, um, and it reminds me more like of like a Frank Zappa sort of thing, where if you can sort of buy in to the process and just listen to the pop albums later, then you'll have a really good time with it. I even have this one on vinyl.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I really like this one. And again, I've listened to it so much when it like the first year that it came out that I had to put it away. But e- every once in a while I'll be like, did I really like it that much? All right. Um, because he even almost ruins it at near the end of the album. He's like, 2020, suck it. It's like, oh man, he almost like ruins it, just takes you out of it. But that being said, it was kind of he made it about a time and a space, and he made it in quarantine. So it's like it is sort of like a time capsule of how he felt at that time. So I feel like it was an album made just for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and my number seven, again, when I started discovering through that magazine that Devin had all these other works, I was like, "Holy fuck!" I didn't think he had this much material out there, but it turns out he did. And this record was kind of the first one where I was getting an idea what he was doing with solo stuff. So like, this wasn't the heavy, heavy stuff, but it still at this time still had a little bit of that edge, but it had songs like Christine, Truth. Then you have crazier shit like Noisy Pink Bubbles. I'm of course talking about his album Infinity, and it's just a lot different than anything that I had heard at the time, and just further, but it further cemented like how I felt about him as an artist because I kind of like noticed through like even a song like Detox, you can kind of notice in that middle part that's like one of my favorites, it's a bit of a softer side to Devin, even though he's angry, but you can kind of hear that softer side to him. And like you said earlier, at the other half of City, it changes up a little bit. And then you see some of that more versatile stuff that he has. And I remember saying to myself, after hearing this, an album like this, I said, wow, what would happen if Devin incorporated this stuff with the Strapping Your Legs stuff? And that's going to come to light with an album later that you and I both really like, because that's when it actually peaked for me in terms of his combining both elements of his solo stuff and his like heavier stuff. But this focuses on a lot of more of the softer side of Devin. And even though again it still has a little bit of that edge, I just find it very versatile and like it kind of throws you off too because some of it again is a little bit more operatic, which is kind of weird, like soul
Right.
driven. So it has like a lot of neat little things that he's doing in here, and that just shows you his versatility as an artist. And I just really, really appreciate that about that record.
All right. This is an album that I have never been able to connect with as a full album. Like I've borrowed yours in the car a couple times. I'd be like driving to work, and I always, but I know most of the songs sort of individually. Having seen Devin live, like Christine, I think isn't War off this album too,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
so yeah, or I think Bad Devil is also on this one.
Bad
So
Devil, yeah.
so I
And
know the songs.
that Bad Devil does have that kind of like Broadway esque vibe about it, which is very
Right,
cool.
it does. So this is where me and the old head Devon fans who are like there and like really connect with these ones. And I give the whole album a shot every couple of years just to be like, do I still connect with it? Because I think he played the whole thing live. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously, it was a very big album for him when musically when he was coming up. So I knew that these early ones were coming that were not going to be on my list.
All right. What's your number 6?
For me, number 6 is Ziltoid the Omniscient.
Ziltoid.
And
Cup of
this
coffee.
is a weird one because this is the first thing that he did after Strapping Young Lad, and kind of nobody knew what he was going to do. And I think everybody expected him to, you know, I'm going to go do my big solo stuff, but he already had his big solo stuff. And it wasn't that big in terms of like some giant smash success. So the fact that he just did whatever he came to him, um, I thought was interesting. I also normally do not like drum machine on albums, but this was one of the first uh, drum kit from Hell albums that I ever heard, and it just fits perfectly in with Devin's kind of super processed drum writing style anyway. And what's so great about the album, and I think it was actually very popular when it came out, like people were surprised. I remember a lot of our friends like totally buying into it because for as silly as the concept is, the songs aren't silly. There's like two or three little gimmicky tracks on there, but almost the joke of the album is that most of the songs are not sung in character. It's not like Z2. Ziltoid 2 is much more theatrical in that way. But actually, Ziltoid in reality is a really chill album for as far as metal's concerned.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a great pick because I one thing I really like too is because like two of my favorite tracks, Solar Winds and The Grays, like they're a little bit more of the mixture of melodies and a little bit of aggressiveness. But this also was like the first time that we always kind of knew that Devin had like a humorous side to him through his lyrics, but this is where he kind of combined where again you brought it up with Z2 is how this opened up the door to the theatrical part of it. And then we got not just a puppet, the little videos he used to put out to promo it.
Oh, it was early
But then
YouTube also.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
like we started to see this character, and even like in Solar Winds at the beginning, he's like, I Captain Spectacular, he started doing these voices, and it was just really a lot of fun. Like I guess we kind of expected this at some point that he was going to kind of branch out and do these concept records and stuff like that. So when he started doing this, even now, like when we look years later, if he's doing like a live show or I think it was Jugular. When we saw that video, he actually brought Ziltoid back and threw him into the video. So you just see little things where Ziltoid pops up in his life. It's just really kind of funny.
Yeah, and it holds up. Like I said, the production is surprisingly good for what it is, which is a hyper digital over processed album with fake drums. Um, but the way that he did it just sounds really great, and he plays a lot of the songs live. I think he still play. Well, he was still playing "By Your Command" quite a lot. Hyperdrive, he redid for Addicted. I love both versions. Like you said, The Grays, Color Your World. The whole thing is just really great.
Yeah, it's funny too because one thing I noticed about Devin, and I love to talk about this because we did Neko and I did one of our first classic reflections on a band called They, and
Oh
their
yeah.
their album Unspeakable. We talked about how they do these callbacks with the riffs. So like they'll play a song in the beginning of the record, and then as it get towards the end of the record, the song might start out differently, but by the time it gets ended, it's starting to redo these like riffs from the beginning of the record. And Devin does this. I've seen him do it with the ending of songs like Train Fire. I've seen him do it even with the Grays. You hear parts of this song in other parts of the
Hmm.
record, and I fucking love that. I love how he does that and incorporates that into his music. So this is a good call on your part. This one didn't make my top 10, but I do really love this record. Like you said, Z2 got a little bit more theatrical with it, which is not a bad thing, but I think it's hard to recapture the magic that he had on this record with that one. So that's why when it came to like I think it's Sky Blue, which again we have Annika a little bit more involved in that one. That one's a little more like the Addicted record. So I kind of like that more, just because the Z2 album itself didn't hit as well as this one did. But this one is an amazing record.
Yeah, Z2 has, I'm very conflicted because I know that he made Z2 mainly so he could do the live puppet show. Like it was a big production value thing. And I think the band was popular enough that if he was going to do it, he had to do it then. So it's like he had to get inspired because of opportunity, not because he necessarily wanted to do that record right then. And I think that's why he did Sky Blue. And I'll be on the record, Sky Blue is one of my least favorite Devin Townsend records. I've never been able to get through the whole thing. And I don't know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Um, I just don't really care for. I think there's something about the way that it's produced, and like I said, kind of going for that same thing as like Addicted and um and Epicloud and even kind of Transcendence. But it's like I could start to hear by the end of it's like okay, Devin Townsend Project as a band is starting to do the same thing that happened with Strapping Young Lad, where it's like now once it
Yep.
becomes like a business, once it becomes successful, he's over it. It's like
Yeah. Yep.
once the ball finally gets rolling. So, but Ziltoid One, self-produced, lives in its own world, and is great.
Yeah, that's one good thing about Devin is that, as you said, if he starts to notice that something's just becoming too fake or plastic or just kind of regurgitating the same stuff, he just goes back and he reinvents himself and just redoes it and redoes it. And which is good. That's the way as an artist you want to be, because you don't want to be caught in stagnant water, like retreading and stuff like that. So good on him to kind of go back and just, okay, this didn't really work the way we wanted, so I'm just going to do something else. you know.
Absolutely.
So my number 6 is a part of that big 4 that we talked about. You had Addicted in there. This one again, of all the 4 records he put out, the 3 of the 4 I really like. Key again has a couple good tracks. I'm just not a big fan overall of that record, but Addicted, you pointed out, has some really, really strong tracks, but it's more mainstream in terms of its approach. Then you have Ghost, which is like a beautifully symphony of like different sounds and melodies. It's just very soft. There's a lot to love about that record. I know that's probably going to end up on your list somewhere because I know it's like one of your favorites. But this one also I think might show up on your list, and it's Deconstruction. Like this one is just fucking ridiculous. The song itself, the self-titled, Neko and I play this a lot. We always end up quoting it like cheeseburger, yeah, and stuff like that. So yeah, again, this is shortly after Ziltoid kind of opened up his array of arsenal of like humor as well as the puppets. It's not so much puppets in this, but just the way that he put everything together. And this is like probably the heaviest of the 4 records that he put out in terms of sound, the wall of sound and whatnot. So you have Julia, which made a video for that. Destruction or Deconstruction is giving me Poltergeist is a very good track off of this. So there's a lot to like in this. And again, it's just he was telling us, don't fret. Like he was kind of like that letdown. It was the first one that came out, and people were like, What are you doing? What?" And then I think was it Addicted or Ghost that came next? I think it was Addicted.
I think it was Addicted, and people. I think that most people, in retrospect, like Addicted the most.
Yeah, because it is easier to get into. It's easier to digest in terms of.
And you are correct that Deconstruction is on my list later. This is a very personal album to me. It's a album that almost felt. I think this came out when I was maybe 22 or 21 or so, and it felt like it was written just for me. And what a great way to make a satire of progressive metal by making one of the best progressive metal albums ever. But yeah, we'll get into it. I think that a lot of people, when Devin said, "Oh, I got some heavier stuff coming on," don't worry. They thought it was just going to be Strapping Young Lad again, and they're still and they still hold it against this album for being silly, and it is very, very silly. But it's not Strapping Young Lad, and that wasn't what you were going to get. And even to this day, you're not going to get that. Like Empath, I think he talked about that one song, Hear Me, that has like the really, really crazy drumming on it. And he said like that was the closest like I'm going to get. Like he had to push himself
Okay.
for that song to get that heavy without like without sort of winking. Um, which is funny because I think that the way he did wink on, I don't know if you know this, but Chad Kroger from Nickelback is a guest on that song.
I
Like
didn't know that. That's funny though.
deep buried in the mix. He's got the fucking Nickelback guy on his heaviest song since SYL. So
That's funny. That's
so
great.
well, yeah, I'll get to deconstruction later.
Let's see. Who is your number 5, or where's your number 5?
So my number 5 is Teria.
Ooh.
And now we're getting into some area where you and I agree because I think that this is a amazing album. I really did not get it for a long time until I came to visit you guys for Maryland Death Fest '09, and I think I said that out loud, and you were just like, you're just disgusted because it is a weird. Because it even today it is a weird album, and not just because of it's it is more meditative. The songs are longer; they don't really get started as quickly, but the album doesn't even like really get started until like 4 or 5 songs in. Like the first songs are all slow and big and plodding, and they're great. Like I love um, Earth Day and Canada and Deep Peace, but they're hardly like ripping album openers. And it's one thing to have like a slower mid-tempo song as your first one, but like the first 4, and then I could just never get past it. I could just never get to it. So it wasn't until I started skipping around the record and I found songs like The Fluke and Down Under, and then finding like Tiny Tears and Stagnant, that I recognized, okay, I kind of know what all these pieces look like. Now I can listen to it as one full thing, and it's just brilliant from beginning to end. Like even the throwaways, like the little opening thing, Olives, or the very last song just kind of like devolves into like weird noise, but obviously like some just him fucking around in the studio. Like it it's such a great album because he just has so much space.
Yeah, and I
Um
think it's very cool because it, to me, of the early records, this is probably the one that showcases his more prog side, like the
yeah.
earliest that you start to see. So, as you said, like longer songs, even though they're not like the Fluke is actually almost a song you could technically throw into a Strapping Young Lad album, and they probably wouldn't flinch, but it still fits very nicely with this record. It still has its own little bit of difference that it's not a Strapping Young Lad song. So yeah, I really, really dig
Yeah.
this.
And I still think that one of the weirdest things about it is just the drums, because it is Gene Hoglan, and that's awesome. But I'm not used to hearing him play so kind of slow.
Yep.
And since the way that Devin writes drums is very robotic, it's weird to have it's like this contrast between this very picturesque pastoral nature vibe, yet it does have this sort of clinical, sterile harshness to the product, like digital production. So, and it's always been something that I simultaneously kind of don't like, but do like. And that's the weird thing about this album in general is that is that it is beautiful, but it's not like sappy or romantic. It is an uncomfortable album.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, like with Hoagland being on there, like I think that at some point Gene had said that like as good of friends that he was with Devin, like playing on this kind of record was a little bit difficult because it's not something he would normally do. It's usually he's always into the heavier stuff
Right.
and stuff like that. So I think that's one reason, like as time went on, Devin was kind of have to find other musicians to kind of do different types of work because even though you and I still love what they do on these records, it's not really their brand of like what they want to do as musicians either. So,
Right. And I think that at that time, you can see with a lot of his stuff, he was pulling from the resources that he had.
yep, yep,
So, but yeah, overall, though, just out of any of the records we've talked about, like there really isn't another record like this one. There's other proggy records, but nothing satisfies the vibe like Terrio.
yep. My number five, and I thought this record at the time would have been much bigger for him because of the video for Vampira, but because I think this record is actually really, really quite good. I think there's a lot of fun tracks on this. You have Hyper Geek, Triumph, Pixelate, Notes from Africa, Sunshine and Happiness. So again, it's more of the fun, more mainstream stuff that you could get away with if you wanted to put it on radio, but I always thought Sinchestra was a really, really great record from him. It is featuring different people now, like we talked about, where Gene and them are not on this record. So he's actually taking some other people to try to collab with on this. And I don't know about you, but to me, this record is kind of very, very underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah. I have never been able to get into the Devin Townsend band albums as albums. Even though I've tried multiple times, it's sort of in the same area as like Infinity earlier, where
Mhm.
certain songs like Vampira absolutely stands out as maybe one of his best singles that he's ever written. And the music video is great. Um,
Yeah.
big influence, amazing riff. It's like that's just a great song. Um, so I don't really have much to say about this other than like every time I every couple of years I'll give this one a try and I'll be like, ooh, maybe this is happening this time, and then I just don't finish it. So I'm probably due to give it another shot.
Yep. What is your number four?
Okay, so my number four is City.
Okay.
And I
So,
think that yeah, City is especially when I first heard it was I think 17, and to this day it fits such a special place I think in heavy metal history because it is so furious and so angry, yet it doesn't bleed into conventional extreme metal. Like I'm used to a death metal band being angry. I'm used to a grindcore band being angry or a black metal band. Like, but he does such a good job of fitting a line between like all these different things. Like you can say, oh, it's kind of industrial thrash, and you'd be like, yeah, I guess technically, but that doesn't describe at all what it sounds like. Because if you told me industrial thrash, I would think okay, something with something like KMFDM.
yeah.
I wouldn't think this. So this the because it has more melody than you would expect it to, but it's just fucking pissed off and it's stupid in its way. Like it and especially the big three songs that we talked about earlier. But also I think Underneath the Waves is one of the just most exhilarating songs that he's ever written, and it's just soaring and insane. For me, even the songs that aren't perfect, I still like. Was it Room 429?
429.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Room 429. Yeah, it's still. I'm pretty sure that song's even a cover of a different band.
Is it? It might
I
be.
think so. Yeah,
But
I
I like
forget
I like
by
like
who.
the intro to that because it reminds me a little bit of King Diamond, like the
Right.
Spider's Lullaby a little bit.
Yeah. So it and yeah, no, City's just it's one of a kind. Um, and it's just pissed off. And I listen to it all the time. Like whenever I got to put this one in the car, I'm gonna break my stereo. Like that is the point of this album is to just break your stereo, like everything about it. So yeah,
Very nice. My number four, it's funny because this isn't really a concept record, but every time I listen to it and that way the songs flow within it, I always treat it as such because it's so perfectly meshed together. And again, it showcases a little bit of the versatility that Devin has on the record, but it's one that I think not until recent years they actually put Devin Townsend's name on it, because initially I think the project was called Ocean Machine.
Knew it.
But yeah, but there you go. So Ocean Machine Biomech is in here, and everything from the Seventh Wave to Regulator, uh, just overall, like even like a song like My Life, which is more of a popish, it's like probably the poppiest song on there, is something that you don't really expect from this record, but it all flows very nicely together. Voices in the Fan has a nice little catchy melody in there. It's softer, but obviously I think the only problems it really faces is the production at the time doesn't sound as good as it could have been. But if you really just take the time to really listen to the music itself, it's just, it's really kind of a chill record. It's heavy, but it's chill. They even have
Yeah.
nice, because I don't know how you feel about these songs at the end, but you have like Things Beyond Things and The Death of Music. Like that's a long song, but just a little bit of like vocals that he has in there with his lyrics is like hits hard. And I don't know if he's sending a message about at the time, just like whether or not music is still hitting him like it used to, because this is probably one of the more tougher times in his life around the time that this was being made. But that song always really hits me about like whether or not music is still connecting with you, the listener, and I always enjoyed that about that song.
I think that any hardcore Devin Townsend fan, this is the line in the sand that they draw, is by me not including it on this list, and me also saying that I have never gotten this album as a album start to finish. That being said, in the years, certain songs have picked themselves up, like um, the first time I ever heard Life. I still
Mhm.
think that Life is one of maybe a top five song that he's ever written. It's just it's even with the production that you had said, there's just something about it that is perfect. It's just such a positive, uplifting, bright song. Um, and the other ones just to me aren't as good. They're good. There's not a bad song on it, but those soaring highs that I get on Life is I had to go to Terria, like with the Fluke, to find
Yeah,
those same soaring highs. But there are, don't get me wrong, songs on the record that are really good. Regulator is uh is quite good. I actually tried to listen to it the other day full way through, and I made about halfway through. So I think I need to get back in the car and listen to the second half, because it's been a long time since I've listened to the Death of Music, and that one's like calling at me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll let you know. I'll let you know how I feel about the second half of the album. I think it's also just that it's 74 minutes,
yeah,
and I think it's this early 90s thing where they had 74 minutes on a CD, and suddenly every band had to fill it up. And I think Devin said he specifically made the record exactly the length of of a compact disc. So I respect it, but it does make it a challenging listen. Like if I'm on a road trip, okay. But the other albums that are just as long, they don't feel as long.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. Let's go. You already did your number four. So what's your
I
number
did.
three?
My
Yeah.
number three is deconstruction.
Okay. So that's
Yeah,
where it popped.
so yeah, and you kind of said most of it. I think that this was just a record that found me at a very specific time and place growing up, um, where for all of the silliness and all of sort of maybe him very bashfully kind of underplaying it and saying, "Oh, I made a overly complicated record just to do it." Um, the amount of attention put into it is amazing, and the way that he uses the guest features is not they're not throwaways. It is some of the best work that those vocalists have ever done. They're perfectly placed. He's got guys like Isan. He's got the singer from Between the Buried and Me, and from the Dillinger's Escape Plan, and he just puts them perfectly. It's almost like he was inspired by Aerion to like, hey, if I could, instead of getting guys to play one full song, they just got the one part of it. Like there's a part near the end of Sumeria where think it's I think it's the Between the Buried and Me singer. It might be him. It might also be the singer from Cynic. But it it's there was a really cool time that this was like a time capsule for in like 2012 where progressive metal. It's right before Gent became popular and sort of, I don't want to say ruined it, but kind of overtook what
It
it
ruined
was.
it. It ruined it.
Yeah, it ruined it. But there was a time there right before it all turned to gent where progressive metal was kind of hip almost for a minute.
Yeah.
And he captured all of those guys, and hell, he even says it on the Planet of the Apes. We all rip off Meshuggah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so to me, this is like an end of an era of the those Between the Buried and Me records where they eventually just got too big and sort of just fell underneath themselves, and you just wanted something smaller. So for as big and bloated as this album is, I don't think there's a bad note on it. I think it's meticulous.
Yeah, no, it just dawned on me that one of our future projects between you and I, when it comes to this, doing these little things, is next time we should do the top 10 best Devin Townsend songs. This could include stuff that he's guested on.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. All right.
Because you got me thinking because of the Arion, like the Human Equation. He does a track on there. He's done something with James Murphy. He's done a lot of like guest stuff that's really unique and cool to him. So
Yeah.
I'd be curious about my own list, like where I would come up with like the best of
Oh,
his
yeah.
best stuff.
He produced my favorite Guar album.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he is on some cool shit.
All right, my number three. This is a strange record, and it's funny because I don't know if it's going to show up in your list or not. But for me, it also has what we talked about earlier. It has the entire Strapping Young Lad group playing this, but it's not a Strapping Young Lad record,
I knew
and
this
it's
would be
very
on your
unique.
list.
Yeah, and it's funny too because the song "Kingdom," which I don't know if you ever done it. If you ever go and searched he does like a version of Kingdom as he's playing by himself, and people are reacting to it, and
Oh
like
yeah.
it's so cool how many people enjoy him who never knew who he was. And I'm talking, of course, about the album Physicist. And again,
Yep.
this is one of these records from the early time when I discovered he had all this other fucking shit going on. I'm like, wow, man, he has all this great material that I had never heard of. I thought Strapping Young Lad was it, and I thought that the Sex and Religion stuff was it. I did not realize he'd had all this other stuff like Ocean Machine and Infinity and then Physicist. So like when I heard these records, I'm like, I almost went through like sensory overload when I was listening to his shit. I was like, this is my favorite guy ever. Like I can't believe this. It was like the biggest discovery in my fandom as far as music life. Like when I started hearing all this shit. So again, like a song like Material, where I pick up on little things. Sometimes people don't. I tried seeing if NECA would pick up, but I don't know if you did, but there's this middle part of Material where it goes into like the solo a little bit and it sounds like Star Trek. So he throws in weird shit that like I pick up on. I don't know because he probably is like a horror fan or a sci-fi fan of sorts. So he throws in things in his own life and his own fandom into this shit. So it's just so cool to hear that stuff.
Yeah, Material, I even remember was one of the very first Devon songs that you ever sent me, along with the stuff from City. And uh, my thoughts on this album are that there's really great songs all over it. Again, one of the ones that never clicked with me as a full album, but this one more than the other ones. The individual songs are really good. So it's probably this one's more of a me thing. Um, I have s- listened to Devin's podcast talking about this album. I think what was so difficult too is correct me if I'm wrong, but something like he had to like re-record it, something like he just had a, and that kind of explains the production being, it's not bad, but it is thinner, like
Yeah,
especially compared to the Strapping Young Lad stuff. But Material is a great song. Namaste is a great song. Death is very good. And it is interesting now because, like you brought up Kingdom, and everybody knows Kingdom because of that EMG video, but
yes,
also just the operatic vocals that he gives now that obviously he's sober, not smoking weed, not drinking, so his singing just got so much better. And I he said something about how when he had to re-record vocals for uh for the physicist version, he just wasn't happy with his performance, so he put the filter over it. So I do think it is the weaker version of Kingdom, but it is still a good version of it. And it's interesting to hear where it came because he's done that a few times. Like he did Hyperdrive from Ziltoid on Addicted. He also did Truth from, it was Truth was on Infinity, right?
yep,
Was it on
yep,
Infinity? Okay.
yep, yep.
I couldn't tell if it was there or Accelerated Evolution, but and then he put that one on Transcendence. So I like that he's willing to cover his own material and that
Yeah,
he's shameless about it. He's like, no, I don't care. I love this song and I think there's something else I can do. And he doesn't change him that much. He just does him better.
yep, yep, yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, better, yeah. But you get what I'm
Like
saying.
I said, he's as big as his hardest, harshest critic. So like whenever he goes back and says, like you said, if he wasn't that happy with the production and what he did on Physicist, he might come back later playing it live and say, I'm going to do this differently because I think this works better for that song.
Right.
So
But this is one of those ones I think that, the fans like it a lot better than he does. So I don't think that
yeah,
he likes the record very much,
yeah.
but it's
But
probably
that's
just
just
the
his core
times.
fan. So
Yeah.
yeah, oh
Right.
yeah, definitely. What is your number two?
Okay. Number two for me, weird about talking about this heavy stuff. Ghost. I
Beautiful,
think
beautiful.
that this, and people don't like this album at all. Like that, like the funny thing about this is like if because who's listening to Devin Townsend other than metalheads? So there's no crowd for this album. Uh, or at least it's not being pushed in front of its crowd. He's done a million ambient works. He's got his whole Dream Piece thing, Snuggles, and it's all good. But what this album does is it has just enough structure. It has just enough real songs that it doesn't just turn into mush.
Hmm.
There's definitely parts on it, especially near the end of the album, where it does turn to mush for like a good kind of 20 minutes, but before kind of coming back together. But um, I find myself returning to this album constantly and have been for the last 15 years, ever since it came out. Just because there's nothing else that quite hits this vibe. Like I listen to a lot of soft music, but even a lot of folk music, the guitars and stuff, it doesn't have the dreamy stuff. And then I listen to a bunch of ambient, but it doesn't have the songwriting. So it's like this is as gentle of an like as early morning coffee of an album as I've ever heard. And the songs Feather, Blackberry, Ghost, uh,
Texada.
Texada is like they're this is one of the ones where, unlike what I was saying about the other albums, uh, that there's a song here or there. This is one where I can do both. I can just turn it on and let it go the entire way through without skipping a song, or I can pick out songs that I love and just start it anywhere. I think that uh, I'd be the only fan of his in the world that would want this, but it's like I want more of this because the Dream Piece stuff is great, but I want more songs inside of all of that mush. And yeah, so to me, Ghost is a 10 out of 10 perfect record.
Yeah, and again, like I love that Devin does this. So obviously, the heavier material, is a reflection of some of his hardships growing up and stuff like that. And it's a way for even us as fans to get our anger out. We listen to a lot of extreme music to get that anger out that we might be feeling about whatever's going on in our life. But Ghost is like the alternate version of that. So when like Devin is in a more zen place now as a person and a human being, so that he's trying to give us some of that to kind of keep us calm. So we can have that storm, but we have the calm too. And that's what Ghost does. It provides a nice, relaxing retrospective of ourselves that we can just sit back and think about our life and maybe calm down and try to regather ourselves as human beings and try to do something more positive going forward.
Yeah, and it's not even the other thing about this one that I love is that his band is also really good on it. Like it's not just Devin. The drums, for as quiet of an album as it is, there's drums all over the album, and they don't bring too much attention to themselves. The flute playing, um, is the flute player from a group called Emerald Webb that Devin was a fan of as like a teenager,
Yeah, he really
and he
loved.
reached out to her.
Mhm.
And so the fact that he got her and she did just such a beautiful job on it is this is an album that I would play for anybody. And like this is an album that I play all the time, everywhere. Doesn't matter the situation. This is always in my rotation.
Yeah, so my number two, we've already talked about this. It's Tierra. Just a fucking great record. I really love this top to bottom. Does a lot of different things. Again, it's like one of the earliest versions of what we would get would be the Devin Townsend prog arrangements and like doing a lot of different stuff, but it's not wankery, it's not crazy. It just you have interesting sounds, but it has also some edge to it. Like I said, Mountain, he's got this very boom, 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 boom. So he does a lot of cool things within this record. And you were actually the one that actually got me the vinyl of this record, which
Yeah,
is very hard to come by. So
I've never seen another copy of that.
yeah, so I love that. I treasure that motherfucker so much. So again, many thanks for tracking that down for me. Uh the funny thing is, the number one
I'm
for
pretty
you
sure
and
that we
I
both
are
have
going
the
to be the
same.
same fucking record.
Is
And
it
I was
Alien?
wondering, the more we were going, I was like, it looks like it's going to be that
It's
way.
Alien. It's Alien,
Yes,
isn't it?
it is
Yeah,
Alien.
Alien.
Uh,
Alien is like, man, there's only a few metal records in the world that like I can say might be better, and they kind of just win by a technical like I gotta bring out like Judas Priest's Painkiller to like talk about just as perfect of what a heavy metal album is supposed to be. It's all there's the one ballad.
just
You're
one.
allowed one just to break it up, and it's a perfect album. I think that everything from the songwriting to the production is still maybe the best produced metal album that I've ever heard. The drums are massive. Like it's heavier than 99% of the death metal bands I've ever heard. It's heavier than black metal. It is so unapproachably abrasive without conforming to the normal shades and colors that we as metalheads are used to going to. Because if you tell me, oh, it's a Cannibal Corpse record, Cannibal Corpse is heavier. I'm like, yeah, but Cannibal Corpse is supposed to be in its way. There's nothing else like this album, not even City.
Yep.
I've never heard another album in my life that comes close to sounding like what this one does.
And that's the thing, right? So City, as good as it is, to me, kind of like doesn't flow the same. Like we talked about how it's heavier in the beginning, it
Yeah.
kind of does different things. This one, and it goes back to what I was saying about how I wanted Devin to take pieces of his solo work and throw them into the Strapping Young Lad stuff, and that's exactly what it did. And which was so cool about this record was I like certain tracks off the self-titled Strapping Young record, so it's a
Oh
straightforward,
yeah,
like,
it's a
heavy
good
album.
album.
But I remember saying to myself, like, this doesn't even really compare to City, because even in City, he's still doing different things. This, he's just kind of like laying it out straight. He's not doing anything different. But Alien, dude, he's all over the map vocally. He's all over the map, like arrangement wise. Cool stuff that he does, like songs like "We Ride," like the whole like horsey sounds with the guitar work. Zen, Love, like I just everything about this record encapsulates. Like if I had to tell you, anybody says, "What would you recommend me to listen to for Devin?" I'd say Alien, because you're going to get every fucking thing that he's ever done in that record.
And it's so well put together that are there songs off of City that I like more that like if you took the best song off of City and put it against off of maybe one of the weaker songs off of Alien, you'd go, sure, yeah, Detox is a better song than Possession, but or Possessions. But that's not the point because Possessions is very specifically where it is on this record. So
Yep.
this, I almost only ever listen to this album start to finish. And it grows on me even to this day. There's certain pieces that I like more and more. I have old favorites. I think that Shitstorm might be might be the best like three pieces of music that he's just ever written. Like Shitstorm is basically all of Deconstruction, that whole album put into 3 minutes without any of the wankery or anything. It's just it doesn't repeat itself. It just keeps on going and keeps on building until it got that release. And I'm pretty sure that's actually I'm pretty sure the end of that song is actually like the end of your intro.
Yeah, it is. Yep. It is.
I picked that up and was like, oh yeah, we're in good space. Like I knew it already. So yeah, Skeksis is maybe my favorite interplay between him and Gene Hoglan. Just near the end of the song. Yeah, I got really nothing bad to say about other than like, oh, Info Dump isn't a real song; it's just static. But
Yeah.
that who cares? Who
Yeah.
cares?
But
You got
again, like that's, if you've ever heard his projects like Hummer or Echo, it's again, he's just doing weird things. So again, if you're
right.
somebody who's like trying to understand Devin Townsend as an artist, this record in totality will give you just about everything that he's ever done. I would still recommend, and I know you would too, to people to check out all his other stuff. But if you want just like a quick glimpse into the world of Devin Townsend, this album here would give you a little bit of everything that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think it just does everything. And like, Love is the perfect heavy metal single without being it, but it's not a vapid song. It's not like an obvious single. It just works. Um,
Yeah.
and like show the cover again because I love this album cover, and it's a weird one because of how simple it is. Like, it's not what you would think of for a great heavy metal album cover because it's so plain, but the way that the kind of nebulous background, I've just
Yep.
always the color choice, like just the design of everything on it is perfectly simple.
Yep.
And that like I don't have a bad thing to say about this album. Um, other than the fans never forgave him for not making Alien Part 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again,
Like
like,
you're not
and
going to
that's the
get it.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
it's
We
the
talked
heaviest
about it
one.
where, once he, like, this album was pretty successful for him.
Yeah, this was
But,
the one that saved it.
then, like, the studios, the labels, like, start coming to you and they're like, okay, well, we want to do this, this, and this. And, like, that's where Devin's like, well, if I'm bowing down to what you want, then I'm not being me. And so the new Black, like, again, you're right. It has a lot of great tracks on it, but some of those tracks, like, fuck you, were telling these labels, like, suck my dick. I'm
It
done with it.
literally is. Yeah. What is it like? Fuck you, you fucking fuck. Like it's him protesting it. It's like
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
you guys want a single. Here's your single. It's stupid. I don't want to like so. Alien is that right point where he had just enough clout in order to get the production and the songwriting where it needed to be. But it's not overblown. It's doesn't have a lot of solos on it. It has some, and they're very good where they are. But it really is just a groove vibe record between um, the drumming, the rhythm guitar, and Devin's vocals.
Yeah.
Those three things together just really fucking sink in. And like, like it's almost the way that the best Meshuggah does click together, but so rarely does it click together like this does. Because unlike Meshuggah, Devin just has the songs.
Yep. 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 Uh, so you and I were talking off screen a little bit. You said you might be opening up for a band with your project, which obviously
Yes.
you've done it mainly through the internet. You weren't really planning on touring or anything like that, but tell people what you might have coming up here soon.
So kind of like the EMG live video of Devin playing along to Kingdom, I'll be playing along to a good majority of my album opening up for Vulvectomy in Seoul. So I'm looking forward to that because never planned on playing the stuff live, but the people here were like, nah, dude, fucking do it. We want to see it. So
Yeah,
we'll do it.
that's awesome. And I know you talked about maybe coming to MDF next year if your brother's going to play MDF.
We'll fucking see. We'll see how the armies.
Yeah, yeah. You always gotta kind of like go to the beat of the military and what they have going
That's
on at that time.
absolutely right.
As for me, later today I'll be getting together with Fat Samurai Guy and Rick Myers for their next edition of Action and Film Autopsy, and we're going to be talking about a lot of the films that Rick Myers saw. A few that I've seen, I'll review on there with those guys. And then later in the evening, I'm getting together with Olvin on the Silver Screen Savant, and his pick this week to review is the 2000 movie Beowulf. So we'll be talking a little bit about that tonight. But outside of that, don't have too much planned yet. I'll just update my schedule and let everybody know what's going on. But please go check out Jason Steffen's band Pissecotomy on YouTube. Great stuff out there, even his older stuff that's more grindcore and noisy. If you're into that kind of stuff, I know there are a lot of people that are. Check it out. It's very quality, high grade stuff. Jason, thank you for joining me today for this. I am looking forward to maybe doing another one of these with you. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe you and I will do one of these once a month. We'll just talk about music, which would be nice.
Yeah, we'll come up with the next one. I'll let you pick the next one. Just pick something good.
Yeah. Don't be Dave Mustaine, right? Anyway, hit the like and subscribe. Please go like and subscribe on Pissecotomy, and we'll see you next time on the Military Radio Podcast. Take care, motherfuckers.
You see me before you die.